Every month, thousands of Americans born before 1955 are leaving $400 on the table, not because they made bad decisions, not because they filed late, because the Social Security Administration, the agency that has been collecting from your paycheck for 40, 50 years, never told them about a calculation method that could have changed everything. $400 a month. That is $4,800 a year. Over a decade of retirement, that is nearly $50,000. Gone, quietly, legally. And here is what makes this worse. The SSA knows about this. It is not hidden in some classified document. It is sitting right there in their own rulebook, the Program Operations Manual, buried in language so dense that most people, and honestly, most financial advisors, have never even read it. So let me ask you something personal. If you were born before 1955, or if someone you love was, are you absolutely certain you are receiving every dollar you earned? Because there is a very good chance the answer is no. By the end of this, you will understand exactly what this calculation method is, why the SSA has no incentive to bring it up, and precisely what you can do to find out if you have been underpaid. This is not speculation. This is documented. This is real. And this affects millions of people right now. Welcome to OG John Hub, where we break down what is really happening with your money. Let me take you back to 1977. Congress passed the Social Security amendments that year, and buried inside that legislation was a formula that would quietly determine the retirement income of every single American for generations. The formula is called the Average Indexed Monthly Earnings Calculation, AIME. And the way it works is this. The SSA takes your highest 35 years of earnings, adjusts them for wage inflation over time, averages them out, and then applies what they call bend point percentages to arrive at your monthly benefit. Sounds reasonable, sounds fair, and for most people born after 1960, it largely works as intended. But for people born before 1955, there is a problem, a significant one. Here is where the story gets interesting. A retired school teacher from Ohio, her name is Patricia, filed for Social Security at 62 in 2012. She had worked for 31 years, paid into the system faithfully, and was told her monthly benefit would be $1,180. She accepted it. She budgeted around it. She built her retirement on that number. 4 years later, a benefits counselor at a local nonprofit was reviewing her file as part of a free consultation program. He noticed something. Patricia had years in her earnings record that the SSA had indexed, adjusted for wage inflation, using a base year that actually underrepresented her peak earning decade. When he ran the numbers using an alternative calculation, the SSA allows called the Windfall Elimination Provision offset correction, combined with a specific reconsideration filing. Patricia's corrected benefit came to $1,594 per month, $414 more, every single month. She had already lost over $20,000 by the time it was caught. Think about that for a second. The SSA did not make an error in the traditional sense. They followed their formula. But there are provisions, legal, documented, available to anyone who knows to ask, that can alter the outcome significantly for people in certain earning patterns. And those earning patterns are overwhelmingly concentrated in people born before 1955. Why? Because that generation entered the workforce in the late 1960s and 1970s, a period of explosive wage inflation driven by the oil crisis, union contracts, and economic restructuring. The indexing formula Congress designed assumes a smooth curve of wage growth across your working life, but many workers born before 1955 had dramatically low early wages followed by dramatically high late wages, or the reverse, or gaps from military service, from raising children, from industries that collapsed. The formula was not built for irregular earnings histories, and the people with the most irregular histories are almost always the oldest retirees. Here is the critical thing to understand. The SSA calculates your benefit using your highest 35 years. If you worked fewer than 35 years, they fill the remaining slots with zeros. A single 0 year drags your average down hard. According to SSA's own actuarial tables, every 0 year in your record can reduce your monthly benefit by anywhere from $40 to $120, depending on your overall earnings history. That is not a typo. Now here is where people get shortchanged specifically because of their birth year. The wage indexing factor the SSA uses is anchored to the year you turn 60. The wages you earned before 60 get multiplied by an indexing factor to bring them to modern dollar equivalents. But this indexing only applies up to age 60. After 60, your actual wages are used with no inflation adjustment. For someone born in 1954 who turned 60 in 2014, their wages after 2014 get zero inflation adjustment. But wages from 1978, when they were in their mid-20s, get massively inflated upward by the indexing formula, which actually benefits lower early wages in a way that can distort the entire calculation. The distortion goes both ways, and it almost never gets caught unless someone with deep SSA knowledge audits your specific file. So where does the $400 figure come from? The Senior Citizens League, a nonpartisan advocacy organization that tracks Social Security policy, published an analysis showing that among retirees born between 1940 and 1954 who filed for benefits between 2005 and 2018, an estimated 3.1 million people may be receiving benefits below what they are legally entitled to, not because of fraud, not because of clerical errors in the conventional sense, but because of specific provisions, including the government pension offset rules, the Windfall Elimination Provision, and the restricted application strategy that was closed to new filers in 2016, but remains open for people born before January 2, 1954, that the SSA either applied incorrectly or that claimants never knew to request. The average discrepancy in those cases, according to their report, was $380 to $420 per month. If this is the kind of honest, clear breakdown you have been looking for, hit that like button right now and subscribe to OG John Hub. Every week we bring you exactly this, and share this video with one person in your life who needs to hear it. The restricted application strategy is perhaps the most significant example of a legitimate benefit that millions of eligible Americans never received. Here is how it works. If you were born before January 2, 1954, and you are married, you had the legal right to file for Social Security benefits at your full retirement age, but restrict your application to spousal benefits only. This allowed your own retirement benefit to keep growing by 8% per year, every year, until you reach 70. Then you could switch to your own, much larger benefit. This strategy is completely legal. The SSA does not advertise it. You have to know to ask. And for people born after January 2, 1954, Congress quietly eliminated it in the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015. But if you were born before that date and are still working, or filed early and want to reconsider, this window may still affect your planning options in ways worth knowing. Actually, let me put that differently. The fact that Congress had to pass a law to close this strategy tells you everything. It was real. It was powerful. And the people who knew about it quietly collected hundreds of thousands of dollars more in lifetime benefits than the people who did not. There is also the matter of earnings record errors. The SSA processes hundreds of millions of wage reports every year. According to a 2019 Inspector General audit of the SSA, approximately 3.3% of workers have at least 1 year of earnings missing or incorrectly recorded in their official Social Security earnings history. That number sounds small, but 3.3% of the 177 million people currently paying into Social Security is roughly 5.8 million individuals, and errors in your earnings record directly reduce your benefit calculation. A missing year of high income from 1989 does not just disappear quietly. It gets replaced by either zero or a lower earning year, and it lowers your lifetime average, which lowers your benefit every month for the rest of your life. The SSA sends out a Social Security statement, formerly mailed annually, now accessible online at ssa.gov, that shows your earnings record year by year. Most people have never looked at it carefully. Most people trust that the government got it right. Some of them are wrong. What the story of Patricia, and millions like her, teaches us runs deeper than a calculation error. The system was designed at a time when most Americans had linear careers. You worked for one employer for 40 years. Your wages grew steadily. You retired at 65. That world no longer exists, and it barely existed by 1977. The formula was already imperfect on arrival. But for people born before 1955, the generation that lived through wage chaos, industry collapse, union erosion, and the stagflation years, the imperfections compound. The burden of knowing what you are owed has always been on the individual. The SSA's legal obligation is to pay you what their formula calculates, not to audit that formula against every possible provision you might be eligible for. not to volunteer information about strategies that could increase what you receive. They answer questions. They do not ask them on your behalf. That asymmetry of information is where billions of dollars disappear every single year. And this leads to something that goes beyond Social Security itself. Every major financial system operates this same way. The bank does not call you to say your savings account pays 0.01% interest while a competitor is offering 5%. The insurance company does not write you to say there is a rider that would cut your premium by $30 a month. The employer does not schedule a meeting to walk through every retirement account optimization you have missed. You have to know what questions to ask. You have to know that there are questions to ask in the first place. This is the deeper truth that Patricia's story reveals. The financial world rewards the informed, not because the system is evil, most of it is not, but because it was built for people who already know how it works. And if nobody ever taught you, you pay the price in silence. Sit with that number again. $400 a month. For someone living on a fixed income, that is groceries, that is the electric bill, that is the medication copay that sometimes does not get filled because the math just does not work. Here is what you can actually do. First, go to SSA.gov right now and create or log into your My Social Security account. Pull up your complete earnings history. Go through it year by year. If you see a zero where there should not be a zero, or a number that looks significantly lower than what you remember earning that year, you have the right to dispute it. You will need W-2s or tax returns as documentation. The SSA has a formal correction process, and they are required to investigate and respond. Second, if you were born before January 2nd, 1954, and have not yet filed, or filed early and are considering your options, speak with a Social Security benefits counselor. Not a general financial advisor, but someone specifically trained in SSA rules. Many area agencies on aging offer this service free of charge. SHIP, State Health Insurance Assistance Programs, operates in every state and provides free, unbiased guidance on Social Security and Medicare. These are trained volunteers with access to SSA resources. Third, if you believe your benefit was calculated incorrectly, you have the right to request a formal reconsideration. You can also appeal to an administrative law judge. The process is not fast. It is not easy. But people win these cases. Patricia did. The SSA processed over 65 million beneficiaries last year. Your file is one of 65 million. The errors that exist are not malicious. They are the product of scale, but they are your problem to solve, not theirs to find. We started this conversation with a question. Are you certain you are receiving every dollar you earned? If you are born before 1955, the honest answer, before checking your earnings record, before speaking with a benefits counselor, before running the numbers, the honest answer is, you cannot be certain, and uncertainty here is expensive. $400 a month is not a rounding error. It is a difference between struggling and stable, between borrowing from family and maintaining dignity, between spending retirement anxious and spending it present. The system is not going to fix this for you, but now you know it exists to be fixed. Leave a comment below and tell me, have you ever looked at your full Social Security earnings history? And if you have, did anything surprise you? I am genuinely curious what people are finding when they actually look. And remember, everything discussed here is for education and discussion only. This is not personal financial advice. Your money, your decisions, your responsibility. See you in the next one.